Hello everyone, welcome back to another video from sysadmin 102. In today's video, I will show you how to create an OpenVPN instance, remote access with the SSL TLS and user authentications on OPNSense. Years ago also, I actually created this tutorial. However, this is just an updated versions due to the changes in the GUI or the GUI. Everything is still pretty much the same. However, due to the change in the GUI, it causing confusion for some viewer. So I decided to update the tutorial as well as the written tutorial. And again, thank you for all the support. If you think the video is helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And let's get started. Before we get started with step number 1, here are some of the requirements. The requirement that if you doesn't have the static IP address, then you would need the dynamic domain name system, DDNS. So a static IP is constantly the same. Dynamic IP address would mean that it's gonna change from time to time, and that make it challenging for remotely access your device. That's when the DDNS or dynamic domain name system came in. It basically keep pointing at your home IP address and updating that IP address every time it changes. So if you already set it up, perfect. If you haven't, I have a tutorial just for that. The link on how to set up a dynamic DNS or DDNS gonna be included down in the descriptions. Is also included in my written tutorial as well. All right, moving on to step number 1. And before we do that, we're gonna do a version checks. So this is for OPNSense version 24.7. And for step 1, we're gonna create the certificate of authority. So we can navigate to system, select trust and authority, and then we're gonna select the plus icon to add a new one. And for the descriptions, I'm gonna name it sysadmin 102 OpenVPN CA. You can name it whatever you choose to. For the key tab, RSA 2040A is like a bare minimum requirement. I would recommend it to use 2040A. Of course, the higher it, the more secure. However, be aware that stronger encryptions, it can use more resources and it may slow down performance. As well, you're gonna have to make sure that on the client side and the server side both can support that key tab and algorithm. And then for the digest algorithm, we're gonna select SHA 512, each user, cell size, lifetime 825. I'm gonna keep it default. If you don't want to keep renewing it, you can do 3650, which is 10 year. However, it's easy. Just go in and reissue the new certificate. For general tab, the only thing I'm gonna do with United States, and then everything else optional. You can fill it in if you want to. If not, you can leave it blank. That's fine. And for the common name, you can just copy and paste the same at like the descriptions. And when we done that, we select set. After creating the certificate of authority, we will need to create a server certificate. So to create a server certificate, you head over to certificates and then select add to add a new certificate. And for the descriptions, I'm gonna call it sysadmin 102 OpenVPN server. So this is gonna be a server certificate. So for the tab, it's gonna be servers, obviously. And so for the key type, whatever you choose, make sure that it keep it the same throughout. So if the certificate of authority RSA 2040A is gonna be the same for the server as well, and as well for the client. And the digest algorithm, we select at HA 512. So I'm gonna select at HA 512 again. And for the issuer, we're gonna select sysadmin 102 OpenVPN certificate authority, or whatever that you name earlier. All right, everything else we're gonna keep at the default. For the common name, you would put your fully qualified domain name, FQDN. If you do not have one, you can just put the internal -ca, and that's perfectly fine. And we select save when you're done with it. All right, moving on to step number 3, we're gonna create a client certificate. So first, you will need to create a users. If you haven't already done so, you can just select add a new users. If you already have a username, you're gonna select edit, and then from there we're gonna go down to user certificate, and we're gonna select add a new one. I'm gonna call it sysadmin 102 underscore user 1. All right, and obviously it's gonna be a client certificate, RSA 2040A and HA 512. For the each user, it's gonna be sysadmin 102 OpenVPN CA, and everything else should be default. And once you've done that, you're gonna select save. After we generated the client certificate, we're gonna head over to OpenVPN, and then we'll select instances, and then we'll select static key, and then we're gonna add a new key. I'm gonna call it sysadmin 102 OpenVPN key 1, and then you select the gear icon to generate a new one. And once you've done that, we're gonna save it. Moving on to step number 5, we're gonna create a new instance. So we're gonna select instances and add the new one. And for the descriptions, I'm gonna call it sysadmin 102 VPN server. And then for the protocol, you have the option for UDP and TCP. So the difference is UDP is better for VPN performance, and it have lower latencies. The disadvantage is it doesn't have built-in corrections. That possibility for package loss. TCP is less detectable as a VPN. The traffic gonna be routed to port 443. Basically, it's the same thing like the HTTPS. So if you in the region that your ISP block or the port number, you can use TCP 443, and you still gonna able to route the VPN traffic through. Likewise, if you in the region that they have censorship, the internet, 443 gonna help you avoid that as well. However, the advantage of using a TCP over port 443 is gonna slower compared to UDP. But if it help you avoid censorship, then it would be worth it. Or if your ISP blocking all the port number, then 443 is your only choice. All right, so we can select UDP, and then for the port number, I'm gonna use 1196. So the default port number for OpenVPN is 1194. However, I recommended you to avoid using the default port number for this obvious reasons. If you have an IDS or IPS enabled on your router or your firewall, that tool on internet that constantly scan for open port, and they're gonna scan for the default port by default. So unless somebody purposely target you, the automated tool, they're gonna go with it the default port number. So by using the different port other than the default port number, it's gonna minimize the log for your IDS and IPS. All right, for the tab, it's gonna be a TUN. That's gonna be a layer 3 tunnel. And then for the server IPv4, I'm gonna select 10.2.9.0/24. So subnet 24. And then for the Server IPv6 is optional. You can use the same address that I provided in my written tutorial. So a couple note with the IPv4. So you can use class A or class B or class C private IP address. As long as the private IP address, you should be fine. Couple things to keep in mind. Avoiding using like the common default router IP address, such as 10.0.0.1/24 or 192.168.1.1/24. The reason why you don't want to use this is because your VPN won't know like how to route a package between the multiple sites. If those sites that don't use the unique subnet, they have the same subnet as your tunnel, VPN won't know how to route the traffic. And for topology, it's going to be subnet. Moving on to the trust, we're going to select the server certificate that we created earlier. And then we're going to select verify remote certificate. And then for the certificate depth, we're going to select one, client and server. And TLS static key, we're going to select the key that we just generated earlier. Moving on to the authentications. So here we're using the local database. So we're going to select local database. Strict user and CN matching. So keep in mind that, if this option is on, the user and the certificate that generated for that particular user, it have to be matched. If you only generate one client certificate and you want to have multiple users to share that certificate, then the option would be no. However, if you want to enforce, each certificate have to match the user, then you will select yes. And for routing, local network, if you want to have access to any subnet on your local network, you can input it here. So I want to have the access to my local subnet. All right. And moving on to miscellaneous. So the option we're going to select client to client. So as you see, there are multiple options in here. To know what all the options mean, you can head over to my written tutorial. And in here, you can find all the options that I listed what it do. So you know what it means. But for now, we can select client to client. That's going to enable client within the tunnel to able to see talk to each other. Push options, we're going to select push log outside DNS and push fresher DNS. And then for redirect gateway, we're going to select the default. And then we're going to select fresher DNS. DNS server, if you have a local DNS server, you can input it here. So for mine, that 10.13.2 and .1. However, if you don't have a local DNS server, you can use whatever DNS server that you refer. I recommended to you Next DNS. However, if you want to use the free one, you can use Quad 9, which is 9.9.9.9, and Cloudflare, which is 1.1.1.1. I'm going to remove it for now. All right. And once you've done that, just select Set and select Apply. All right, moving on to the next step, we're going to create a new interface. So I'm going to head over to interfaces, and we're going to select assignments. And we're going to select, well, I only got one interface right now, so it's automatically selected for me. So we're going to put in the descriptions. OpenVPN server. And we're going to select add. And once you do that, we're going to select that OpenVPN server. And we're going to select enable interface. You have an option to select prevent interface removal. Optional, it's up to you. And then once you've done that, we're going to select set. And don't forget to select apply changes as well. And moving on to the next step, we're going to create a firewall rules to allow traffic, incoming traffic, to reach your OpenVPN server. So I'm gonna head over to Firewall and then select rules, and then we're gonna select WAN, and here we're gonna select add to add a new one, and TCP IP versions IPv4. Protocol is gonna be UDP unless you select TCP. All right, for the destinations, we're gonna select WAN address, and then we're gonna select order, and then from here we're gonna put 1196. This is for UDP. If you select TCP, you can just select HTTPS from the drop list, or if you're using the default OpenVPN port number, I believe there is one in here for OpenVPN. Yes. So if you are using the default 1194 OpenVPN, so you will select OpenVPN. If not, you will select order and specify the port number. And for the decryptions, I'm going to say allow OpenVPN client traffic. So that's where we know what kind of rules it is. And it make it easy to identify if you have multiple rules on your firewall. And we're going to select save. And we're going to select apply changes. Next, we're going to create another firewall rules under OpenVPN server. We're going to select the add a new one. So this rule is going to allow your client to access whatever host or the network or IP address or subnet that you choose for them to have access to. All right. So for TCP IP, we're going to select IPv4 or IP plus IPv6. And then for the source, it's going to be OpenVPN server net. And for the decryptions, we're going to say allow client access to host or net. There we go. And once you've done that, we're going to save it. And we're going to select apply changes as well. All right. And before we move on to the last step, if you think that tutorial is helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here we go. Last step. So last step is the client export. It's easy. So we'll head back to VPN and OpenVPN. And we're going to select client export. All right. For the remote access server, if you have multiple servers, make sure that you select the correct one. And then the export tab, I'm going to select a file only. And then for the host name, this gonna be your static IP address if you have a static IP. If you have a dynamic IP, you would input your DDNS address. So for me, gonna be ddns.sysadmin102.org. And then from here, you have the option to disable the password cell. Up to you if you want to do that. And then you can add the custom config in here. And if you're done with everything, you can select the username that you want to download the certificate, and you can select download. And we're going to save that config file. And lastly, we're going to test the connections. If you have iPhone, life is so much easier. What you have to do is you just track the configuration file that you downloaded earlier, and we're going to airdrop it to the iPhone. And then from there, on your iPhone, you're going to select OpenVPN. And then you will select add. And then here we're going to put our username in there. So sysadmin102_user1. And you have the option to set the password. If you don't check this option, every time you establish the connection, it's going to ask for the password. And once you've done that, we're going to select connect. And we're going to select allow. Oh, it's not connecting that because I'm on the same network with the VPN server right now. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect from the Wi-Fi. And I'm going to reconnect it. All right. And it successfully established the connection to the VPN server. And we're going to perform a DNS leak test. All right. So the test has showed that my query is sent to a next DNS, which means I don't have a DNS leak. That's the DNS that I intended for it to go to. Typically, if you have your ISP DNS, would mean that you have a DNS leak. All right, and one last thing we can try to access our router, and there we go. I'm able to access my router. I'm actually on 5G, but probably because I'm recording, it's not updating. It shouldn't be connected to Wi-Fi right now. All right, and that concluded today's tutorial. If you think the video is helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.